You have a whole chapter in here, The Lies We Tell Ourselves.
Mm.
I just want to read a few of these. This is going to ring true for a lot of our ADHD listeners.
I'm literally tensing. I covered my mouth. I'm like strapped in.
I don't have to write that down. I'll remember it.
Yesterday.
Sure. Of course. Definitely going to work out.
Oh, I like this one. I will be more productive after I...
Oh, that hurts. I wasn't expecting that one. My name is Stephen Tonti, and co-host today, Aaron
Smith. I'm a licensed clinical therapist.
This is Ari Tuckman, doctor of psychology and MBA, and is a psychologist, author, international presenter, and ADHD thought leader. Boy, howdy, is he an ADHD thought leader. His fifth book is the ADHD Productivity Manual. That's true. That's fifth of five. Mm-hmm. We are so lucky to have Ari here. We are inspired by him, but more than that, we know him very well. We've known him for a decade now, and we are thrilled to break the ice or to sort of, get him here for the first time, and hopefully many more. Ari, without further ado, welcome to the Attention Different podcast, brother. It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Happy to be here.
You have some exciting stuff going on, right? You just got your new book published, the ADHD Productivity Manual, and I have it right here. I grabbed it from downstairs, which I inadvertently forgot at the beginning of the podcast in true ADHD fashion. But I have it, and I have it earmarked and read through and lined and all sorts of stuff. And I know we are not going to be able to get into even half of what I would love to talk with you about. So we're going to have you back on at some point, hopefully. I wanted to just jump off with this amazing framing. You write in the book that ADHD is a disorder of converting intentions into actions.
Yeah.
And I really like that definition because there's so much about, as attention different, right? We're trying to reframe the label of ADHD. I want you to just talk about that. I want you to just kind of tell us why you decided to kind of define ADHD in those terms.
Attentions are what's in our head, right? I intend to do this. I should do that. It would be good to do it, right? So that's kind of the easy part. And having ADHD, what you need to do. In general, that this is a good thing and nobody needs to explain to you why it's a good thing, partially because you've already been explained to lots of times before this. So that is a lesson well learned. But in your head doesn't mean the same thing as here I am doing it, at the right time, at the right place, perhaps in all of the right ways. And it's that's the place where ADHD kind of steps in. I kind of came up with this line when I was writing the book before that ADHD doesn't invent new problems. It just exacerbates the universal ones. None of us are perfect. Mm-hmm. We all have our moments. We all drop the ball, whatever. So the difference is when you have ADHD, it just happens more often and possibly in more visible ways that other people notice, perhaps have opinions about, and perhaps say some things about. That's kind of what we're doing when we're trying to manage ADHD better, is to close that space between the intentions and the actions.
Yeah, so it seems like kind of, at the crux of this, it's all about aligning your intentions with the preferred actions that we're trying to get to, right? Because there's the things of I have this idea of how things might go or what's important. And then it's in the moment actually doing what you intend to do, following through with it.
Yeah.
How do we actually start to do that? What would you say if you had a client right in front of you, an adult with ADHD, what would you say is kind of the thing to help get them to move into that action-oriented state?
A lot of managing ADHD is kind of managing the environment you're in, right? What's the situation? What are the stimuli around you? What's kind of, pulling at your attention, and trying to set things up in a bit of a better way, so that more of the stuff that is better to pay attention to sort of sticks out a bit more, and the stuff that maybe you shouldn't be paying as much attention to, sort of fades a bit more into the background. I would then take a look at so what's getting in your way? What's competing and perhaps winning your attention that you would at least later prefer that it didn't, so some of it's about that.
Identifying distractions.
Yeah. Yeah. And, competing interests, and it's like, I mean, some of it's just that obvious stuff of like, oh, put away your cell phone, right? Which is sort of annoyingly obvious, but there is truth in it. It's not a crazy idea, but it's just annoying to hear it again.
Yeah.
But it's also like an ongoing thing because, like our cell phones are always going to be there. And in some ways we need them. And yet it can't always be the thing that you're messing around with. So like some of it is that sort of like logistical kind of practical stuff. But, there's also kind of deeper levels because I mean, there's ADHD, but you're still a person with all the complexity and the nuance and so like, we sometimes get into deeper stuff of like, what is really important to you? What do you really want to do with your life? Kind of what's your purpose? What are you working towards? How do these tasks before you perhaps serve that purpose? We get into other stuff of like, how do you balance your needs and desires against those of other people, right? Because we live and interact with other people rely on us as we rely on them. So, like you want to be a good team player in some ways. And also you need to be kind of a good advocate at other times of like, sorry, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that to you by the end of today. And not because I'm managing my time badly, but just because like, unfortunately for you, other things are more important. So do you have the social capital to say that, or do you feel like, oh, I've disappointed him too many times, I guess I'm going to have to do this, right? So are you killing yourself to get this done because somebody else wants it done, right? So ADHD, having lived with undiagnosed ADHD for a lot of years, and all the lessons about yourself that that taught you, can really kind of make it harder to know where that line and where that balance is. I just said like 15 things. Pick any 12 of them that you want to discuss.
My mind glazed over in a way that I'm familiar with from the conference, where like I go into automatic capture mode and I'm storing like the bullet points and putting them into these little boxes. And then you say something cute and charming and you go, oh, okay, wow, we're back. Yeah, that's I was in the filing. I was in the filing phase, Oh, right. Remember that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think like for ADHD, the motivation like to do things is a key piece of it. And if we don't understand the why am I doing this? For what purpose? What's the priority?
Right.
We're not going to be able to muster up any sort of motivation to do something, right?
And that is absolutely true, right? And that is sort of one of those differences between folks with ADHD and folks without, kind of broadly speaking, is that folks without ADHD have less of a hard time forcing themselves to do things that are kind of boring or that feel kind of pointless or stupid. And on the one hand, that's a hell of a superpower. On the other hand, I don't know, there are sometimes I talk to people who are in these terrible jobs that they hate and they keep showing up. And I'm like, dude, like you like dream a little bigger, like this can't be as good as it gets,
Yeah.
So like, you can take that superpower too far as well. But yeah, I think that, it's that much more important to be clear about why you're doing it and to feel some sense of purpose about it. And sometimes the sense of purpose is as simple as this. I want to be the kind of person who can handle things like this, can get it done, and then move on with my life and put more energy into other things that are more interesting to me.
That's great. I had a question locked and loaded, Ari, which is how do we marry these two competing truths that I've heard you mention in lectures before, which is like the doing the harder thing when it's the right thing versus if you don't like doing something, you're never going to do it. You're never going to get done.
Yep.
And I think you actually just kind of answered it, which is so graceful and elegant. It's the purpose, right? You assign a different element of purpose, right? You assign a different quality of purpose to it. I'm doing this not because I have fun doing it, but I want to be seen by my friends and my loved ones as the kind of person who takes this seriously. And that shift, I love that. That's such an elegant shift. And then it starts pumping dopamine again, just on a neurological, like, I'm getting rewards again. I'm the kind of person that people respect for doing this thing.
And to be seen by yourself also, like not just sort of, friends and family, but, also by yourself, which I think is really, really important.
Do you think those develop simultaneously or does one inform the other?
I do think it goes both ways, right? Because I do think that, and which is a really awesome question, I do think that we take feedback from the interactions we have with other people, right? Obviously, because as we interact
Right.
with other people, they tell us who we are, not always accurately, right? And
Right.
sometimes distorted by
Yeah.
their own, issues and whatever, but like, we take that in, and also how you present to other people affects how they see you. So if you are running late and you come in and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I always mess things up, I know you should, and you're like over apologizing, that's going to evoke one kind of a response. On the other hand, if you come in, you're like, look, I dropped the ball, I should have been here soon, I should have left earlier, I got caught up in something, really sorry, I do value your time, like I really am working on this, right? Much more confidence, much more sort of like grounded, that's going to get a very different response.
Absolutely. I find the same is true for comedy, for what it's worth. For the comedians out there, my mother taught me this first, and then a whole host of stand-ups after. But if you're able to laugh at something, there's a bit of an armor in that, a confidence, that an ownership. It actually is another form of saying I own this, right? And it's not the diva who's just because, oh my God, you guys, me, because that's different.
Right.
It's more when people say something, oh my God, well, Tonti, if he says he'll be on time, we can expect it at 3:15, right? 15 minutes late, right? So, and if I go, it me, there's an ownership in it. And I've heard someone recently talk about this in practice with like sports teams. And it was in a kitchen. He's a chef, an executive chef. And he said he had to really thread this needle about giving critiques to people who effed up, like really messed up in the room. He would try to do the following: make them know that they embarrassed themselves, but criticize them in a way that had the room laughing about it, because he knew that when they went to the bar later and that person was BMWing, bitch, moaning and whining, well, I can't believe he called me out for that, the whole room would go, hey, no, man, we all laughed. It wasn't that big of a deal. And it would deflate the conversation about it because it was comedic. It wasn't a big deal. We all laughed about it. It's not a big deal. Let it go. So anyway,
it's another way to accept ourselves, right? It's another avenue of radical acceptance. And, not over apologizing and trying to like over explain, because like you said, Ari, that like puts the person already in this one down position. We get stuck in that, like almost paralyzed in that shame and guilt and stuff like that, which ends up, as you like point out in your book too, is like making things harder to get done later too, right? The more shame and guilt we feel about stuff, the more it gets in the way. Can you kind of like talk about that too? How that operates with the ADHD brain?
Yeah. I mean, look, we all have enough things to beat ourselves up about, and either because like genuinely, lots of people notice, or the worry in our own mind is people notice, and the reality is mostly people don't notice as much as we worry they will, or as much as our anxiety tells us they do. But it's one of those things, beating yourself up doesn't make you more effective. It makes you less effective because you're burning bandwidth on that rather than on, okay, what's the next thing I can do? And maybe I can't change what happened, but I can change what I do next with it. There's definitely something to be said for learning the right lessons, right? I got there late. I really need to sort of plan to leave earlier. I need to count the fact that like, you can't park there. So you got to like drive around for 10 minutes or whatever it is, right? Or I need to set 2 alarms, not 1, or 4, not 3. So like learn from it totally, but we can't learn from it if we're in this kind of shame spiral, or if you're beating yourself up, you're not thinking about like, let me reassess what happened here. So I mean, this is all easy to say, but I think it takes a certain level of ownership, like we've been talking about. It takes a certain level of like, oh, I get myself. Some of this really is sort of the power of an accurate diagnosis, in the sense of like that classic old book, you mean I'm not lazy, stupid, or crazy. If you think you're just a bad person who's sort of irresponsible and a little bit selfish because you keep showing up late and you don't do what other people want you to do, it's hard to kind of learn good lessons. On the other hand, if you realize like, because of my specific brain wiring, certain things are harder for me. It's harder for me to act like the person I want to be. It's harder to convert my intentions into actions and be consistent. So that's why I shoot myself in the foot. And therefore, here are some better ways of managing it. It's a whole different ballgame.
On the shame side of things, just to double underscore it, recently my partner and I had a conversation about helping each other out of like anxiety, shame, little spirals in the middle of the day for any reason. A lot of stressful work stuff. And one of our little epiphanies at the end of the day recently while traveling and relaxing. We will actually get to a point of talking to each other 6 inches from each other's face. And the person is saying positive, supportive, wonderful things to their partner. And the partner is absolutely not absorbing it. Right?
Yeah.
And that's like at that peak, that nadir of shame, the very bottom, right?
Yeah.
And where you can't access any of that stuff. So if it can't work from somebody you love right here saying, you're wonderful, you will pass this, this will end, there's another side to this. And you're going, no, this is forever now. Imagine the shitstorm inside that is so strong that someone who you trust that much, you're like really blocking them out from saying like lovely things to you. So I just wanted to double underscore. It's easy to talk about, but if you're someone who has sat in that place, it's extremely, extremely exhausting and difficult to sit in. And I intimately understand that place. It's not a fun place to be.
I mean, and that's the sort of emotional fallout of this. I say that the neurological becomes psychological in the sense that, ADHD is really just a neurological thing, but all of these experiences that come out of it and all the, quote, lessons you've learned from it, basically you're a bad person, stop doing that. It's really easy to get kind of spiraled away with it when the next random thing happens. You drop a small ball and it feels like another, here we go again, it's a big ball.
Would you say that is akin to almost like complex PTSD, like the low grade, like, small T traumas just over and over again that people with ADHD experience, and it just almost hangs over them, as they're trying to do tasks and things in their life?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Because, this is part of the problem, right? That if somebody is simply depressed, right? The problem with depression is it kind of lies to you. It tells you things are worse than they are. Don't bother. It's not going to get better, right? Depression or anxiety, they kind of distort the truth, right? And part of treating them, therefore, is to help someone really sort of connect more to the truth. Like if I try this thing, might it work out? I don't know. Maybe it could. Also, let's think about how I could approach it differently so it's more likely to work out. Now I tried it. Oh, look at that. It did work out better. But the problem with ADHD, and especially if it's been sort of undiagnosed and untreated, is there's actually like a legit track record. Like there's a million examples of like, no, it doesn't work out. Sometimes it does for some reasons, unclear, right? And therefore unrepeatable. But, sometimes it works out, but often it doesn't. And why should I be optimistic, right? I took college classes before, they didn't work. Like what's different now? Do I have a different pencil or something? Like, is that going to make the difference? That kind of negative mindset is sadly not unreasonable. What the power then of the diagnosis is understanding better why things have happened. And also here are some better ways to make it not happen again, right? To create a future that's different from your past.
Kind of imagining having some kind of solution-oriented mindset of, okay, this is what I can actually do to make this different this time around. But also kind of envisioning and holding space for the possibility that something can shift and change and be different than our expectations. Because like, it's really easy to be negative. To just
no effort.
Assume the worst. Things are all going to fall to shit. Yeah. That's the easiest thing to do for us in our minds. Like we're geared towards this threat detection and survival mode stuff as human beings. And
that's the zero effort, right? It's geared. The intrusive thoughts, I don't ask for those. I don't meditate in the morning and go, I would like some really panic-stricken feelings to hit me today at 3 p.m.
Yeah. So part of the intentions is us putting effort into shifting the mindset, recognizing I'm being very negative. I'm already assuming I have a crystal ball. I can tell the future. I know exactly how this is going to go. And I'm like, wait a second. I can't predict the future. No one can do that, right?
No.
You have a whole chapter in here, the lies we tell ourselves. And I think this springboards really nicely into this. I just want to read a few of these because I think it's just, this is going to ring true for a lot of our ADHD listeners.
I'm literally tensing. I covered my mouth. I'm like strapped in.
I don't have to write that down. I'll remember it.
Every day, yesterday.
Sure. Of course. Definitely going to work out.
This will only take a minute, really.
No, it's really rough when that becomes like inculcated such that it's just like an automatic response.
Right.
Yeah, nothing ever takes a minute, right?
Right.
No, except for 1 minute. That's my new thing is I say nothing takes a minute except for 1 minute. Except for 60 seconds. That's what takes a minute.
Right.
Oh, I like this one. I will be more productive after I
Oh, that hurts. I wasn't expecting that one.
after I clean the kitchen, after I do the dish, after I organize the pile on my desk.
Wait, can I tweak that for an emotional bummer?
Yeah.
Same, but different. I will be a happy, kind person after I
have a coffee, after I
do this. I will be a regulated person.
and you know, in that instance, it might be a little bit true, right?
Sure.
Because maybe that's a proactive
Could be
strategy.
self-knowing. Could be self-knowing. But I have felt the moments though where I felt the tug of war there. Or a moment where I'm saying something like I just need a perfectionizing a moment, and like once I finish this thing, then I can relax. That thing, right?
Another one here is I have plenty of time to work on that.
I mean, what are we doing here?
In the current moment, as of this moment, that is true. Every moment that passes, it becomes less true. Yeah.
We love that. We love a half-life, like a couple philosophy with a half-life. Yeah.
That task won't take that long.
Yeah.
I can do that tomorrow.
Yeah. Although mine gets more specific with like an actual date. I think the new modern version of it is the reminders, the today reminders for like the Apple reminders give you morning, afternoon, and evening, as if I'm speaking for everyone listening, as if any of us are going in and using the little like I want to be reminded in the afternoon, Siri, to do this thing that I'm not going to do for a month after I put it in there.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway.
And then you have this one that's just like, I'll just watch one video. I'll just do this. And you kind of go into talking about how this word just is one of those really slippery thoughts. What do we do that convinces ourselves when we say just?
So just is a way of sort of making something seem like less of a big deal. I'll just watch one, as opposed to like, I'll probably watch 4 or 5. Or it's a way of making something seem more believable, less risky, less problematic, and therefore it's easier to talk ourselves into it.
So many times that happens.
Yeah, because we love it.
Yeah, we can rationalize and justify and convince ourselves into almost anything, right? We're really good at that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to do this. It'll just be one thing. It'll just be 15 minutes. It'll just take me 30 minutes to get there.
But it activates like multiple things. The soft sell is a trick, is a grift on yourself, because it then sets off the chain of dominoes that happen anyway. Oh,
sure.
I might actually, this is suddenly a competition between self and self. Like, what if I'm right? What if I can do this faster than any human has ever done it before? Then I'm going to feel a mega reward, like a massive reward. It's not just the like, oh, I got it done. Thank God. No, it's I did it. I was right. I experienced that, and I attribute it to being like entertainer producer guy. But if I'm driving from point A to B and have to accomplish 3 or 4 tasks or errands in that time, and there's just no way, but then you miraculously pull it off that one time, you're chasing that high for years.
Yeah. There is also that like, this is that time. Like, this is going to be that one time.
Yeah, the exception.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, all of this it allows us to do what we want to do, even though we know it's not what we should do.
I'm just wowed by the domino, the chain reaction that happens almost immediately with the soft sell. The soft sell just opens the door a little bit, and then our dopamine-seeking brain takes off.
And what we need to do is kind of be more honest with ourselves, right? Like, turn the lens back towards ourselves and say, okay, like, what are the odds, right? Like, in the book, you talk about that, like, I like this framing. What are the odds, right? Like, if I look back at all the other times I've said this to myself, how many times? Sure, there might be that one that I pulled it off magically, but let's count all of the other times that I'm discounting in the moment, right? Because I really want to remember that one that felt really great.
Yeah.
But all of the other ones, if like 98% of the time it doesn't happen, should we really believe that? Is that the one to go with?
Right, exactly. Yeah, we're sort of cherry picking the data there.
Yeah, I think Ari will appreciate this from a former mentor of mine, an English teacher, high school, AP, Dr. Hillier. And I went into her office verklempt because I felt that the room had turned on me. I was saying too many things in class. People were not happy with it. And I went to her class saying, why, Dr. Hillier, why? And there was another guy in the class, Jeff, who spoke very infrequently. and was always lauded when he opened his mouth. People, and the whole room, poetry, 5 words. So I go to Dr. Hillier and I use him as the use case example. I say, everybody loves when Jeff talks in class and contributes. Why is everybody so annoyed and rolling their eyes when I talk? And she goes, honey, I think it's a simple math problem for you. And I was like, oh. She goes, you say 500 things a class and 5 of them are fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Jeff says 5 things a class and all 5 things are fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Say fewer things.
Although I give you credit, especially as a high school kid and a high school boy, that you like recognize this is a problem. And then you had the guts to go talk to the teacher to find out what's going on with that, So, well done.
Well, I mean, the diva lives, but also, Doctor, I have to give credit. Even I'm going to do a Jay-Z chain credit. Dr. Hillier was the kind of teacher professor who made her students feel so safe that they could go do that and have that conversation. I will give her credit until my dying.
Totally.
She opened that space.
Something else that I really like about how you structured your book is that you break it into these actionable suggestions and you really kind of box these out and you say, okay, you introduce the concepts and it's very short. So, when I tell people about this book, it's like, all right, it's 268 pages here, but it's very reasonable, right? It's like the text is easy to read. It's got some pictures. And then it also just like puts the action items and asks it in questions, which I really like that. Cause like for my ADHD brain, if someone asks me a question, I'm much more likely to be like, okay, well, how do I do this? And how can I apply this to myself versus a statement? And so many of the books out there are written in these ways of just like, here's the tool, here's a strategy, here's the thing. And it's statement after statement after statement.
Oh my God. Yeah. Do we have an example just cause like you were looking down? Do we have an example of one of those?
You just say things like, what strategies are you going to apply from this chapter? How will this be different from what you're already doing or perhaps have done? And just get people to operationalize what they're thinking about.
Yeah. And I really did want it to be really sort of useful. I mean, I'm a psychologist. I talk to people all day. That's actually kind of my day job here. So like, this is what I talk to people about all the time. And it's really about like, here's the concept I presented, here's a bunch of stuff on whatever how to use a to-do list or, what to do when you feel overwhelmed or, whatever other out of the 36 chapters. But, then I also had like 3 specific sets of questions, to consider to really sort of apply it into your life because, books are interesting and it's maybe nice or something, but you don't want nice and interesting. What you want is like, how do I get shit done and make my life better?
Yeah. You just pulled it right out of our mouths.
That's what I wanted. It's like, this is how you actually take it, put it into your life, do something different, because that's the thing that matters the most.
And if you were to answer that, right, like, what would you say? Because I know there are many difficulties, but like, what are like some of the primary executive functioning difficulties that get in the way of getting things done?
I think the biggest one, and this is more of a kind of overarching idea, but it's about having ADHD makes it harder to see time and feel the future, right? Because executive functions are about kind of doing things for the future, not just sort of in the moment. And like life is complicated. There's always a million things to do. There's all sorts of stuff going on around us. There's all sorts of stuff banging around inside our heads. And in the midst of all of that, we all need to decide in every moment, what is the best thing to do right now, right? And sometimes it's, I wonder what's on Instagram, because Instagram is fun. I don't think it makes your life better for the future, but it's pretty fun right now, And also there are boring things that do make your life better, like, flossing your teeth and, sorting receipts for taxes and things like that. So, so the problem with ADHD is that it makes it harder to do those things that are going to be better for you in the future, right? This is why folks with ADHD are such big procrastinators, right? You don't feel the pressure of the deadline until you get a lot closer to it. And that means then that besides the fact that it can be more stressful at the end, but it also means there are certain things that really would be better to have done earlier, but you can't go back in time to do it. So So therefore, it's easier to focus on the things that are happening right now rather than to look beyond the things happening right now and to say, that would be a good thing to work on now, even though it's not really a big deal until later.
How do we like feel it more? Like, because I think in the book you talk about time horizon, this idea of like that how do I see into the future and anticipate this this sense of how it's going to be? Like, how do we get ourselves to actually feel that?
So some of it is reducing that competition, like I think we talked about before, to have less of the sort of fun, distracting things sort of pulling at your attention so you don't like set up an unfair fight. So some of it's going to be that. But, some of it is also about really sort of kind of putting yourself into that future moment, right? So I don't know, let's say you've got a big meeting with your boss in a couple of days, and it'd be a really good thing to be prepared for it. So, to think about like, here I am now, I really don't feel like going through this stuff. It's really kind of hard, or it's boring, or it's frustrating, or I would rather do this other thing that's easier or more fun. But if I sit down and I spend an hour looking at this, scribble some notes, kind of organize my stuff, I'm going to walk into that meeting head held high. Like I'm going to feel confident. I'm going to feel like I'm good here. Like this is going to be a good thing. I probably slept a bit better last night because I'm not worrying about it. Versus if I screw off right now, then do I walk into that meeting like head down a little bit, feeling anxious? Am I like, oh God, I hope she doesn't ask about this. Right. Like, so really, really kind of feeling how it feels. In trying to feel in the present moment how it's going to feel in that future moment, and to really sort of put yourself in and hold yourself to it.
I love that. Yeah. That's so important because we don't think about that, and also we don't think about the consequences too, right? Like sometimes we're assuming the best case scenario, or like I'll somehow pull this off, or we're assuming like other people will just not notice or something else like that. But like, how do we make those consequences feel more relevant too? Not just like some of the like things right now, but like the future actual consequences that are pretty likely.
Yeah, my father, ever the wise businessman. I sometimes his advice sometimes seems tangential to what I'm doing, but every once in a while it seems extremely relevant. And one of the pieces of advice I got from him, which again it's business themed, but we were talking about THC use, right? So like using weed for anxiety or for feeling good or that sort of thing. And I was doing a fully sober January, so nothing but caffeine kind of a thing. And in the middle of that month, inevitably, all of this like almost like 18-year-old Steven energy comes flooding back, because the energy that's been managed and mismanaged in various ways in a daily routine is now suddenly unmitigated and back. And so my dad and I were talking about this flood of energy and how I was getting a lot of things done, but I'm shaking at the end of the day, like just things kind of on. And he said, well, I'm glad that you're at least coming to terms with one inevitable truth. And he said, what you were losing from smoking as much as you were was not the moment that you were high. He was like, what you didn't realize was the opportunity cost of that one joint, right? So when you go out and buy it from a person, the legal risk, you're in Louisiana, right? The monetary cost, the time it takes to go to that person to buy that thing to come home, the time it takes to roll the thing, smoke the thing, be high, stop being high. It's usually like 12 to 36 hours. And he started listing these things. And by the end, I realized this is my dad's sort of neurodiversion attachment to each of those little bits and how it works for him, because he feels every single one of those islands or train stations and I don't. But I learned from that moment to at least rhetorically say those things to myself, more like mantra style. But like, Steven, how much time are you spending and energy are you using to get this, to roll this, and I'm telling you, it's very present. Like if anytime I'm doing that thing, performing that ritual, very present in my head is exactly how my dad broke it down. It's piecemeal. It's all of this opportunity cost, not just the thing.
And I think that is really wise. I think that there is a lot there to what he's saying, because it is all of those little bits and pieces, including the time when you're high, you're not at your most effective in terms of getting other things done. Although it may feel at the moment like you are, but you're probably not. So yeah, I mean, the problem then is by the time, and this is sort of my joke is, by the time you feel it, it's too late, right? When it's 20 minutes before the meeting with your boss, it's too late to be like, oh, I have an hour of prep to do. You know, like there's too many of those kind of stressful panic moments. It's sort of, I don't know, like how often you wish for a time machine might be a good indicator of how well you're managing your ADHD, you know?
That hit Aaron. That hit Aaron hard.
Yeah.
That cuts.
Let's do a redo. Yeah. Let's go back.
Yeah. That's a one question screening test.
Yeah, that's good. I feel like Aaron's like putting that in his pocket.
Yeah.
How many times have you wished for a time machine? Asking for a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
So by the time you feel it, it's too late. It's already too late.
Yeah. And there's so many things where that's true, right? If you think about walking into a test unprepared, if you think about, I don't know.
Ari, the high. No, the double entendre was excellent. That it's like, yes, by the time you feel the pressure, but also the high, the drunk, the whatever. Like by the time you feel it, it's too late. You made the choices that are in that space.
Yeah, absolutely. And like there's so many ways that plays out in life in terms of, you know, it could be the immediate, like you blurt something out and you hurt someone's feelings. You're like, oh, crap. Right. Or even on a much longer time frame. Yeah. Like, you know, are you putting enough money into retirement earlier? You know, because by the time you're 70, you know, it's too late. You can't go back, you know, from the short time frame to the much longer time frame. And again, we all have our moments. Nobody's perfect, you know, whatever. But it's just more so when you have ADHD.
Yeah. And this reminds me of kind of like a very recent example for me of a story too. So I just got back from a vacation. I went to Jamaica. We went to an all-inclusive resort. It's not really my go-to. It's not the thing that we usually do. But we had a family gathering there. My wife's brother had a vows renewal ceremony there, and his wife is from Jamaica. So we were invited, you know, there, and everyone was gathering at this resort, right? And before I went, I had a little bit of disturbing news from my doctor. I went in for like a regular annual health screening, and they basically said that I have fatty liver disease, and it wasn't horrible or that bad yet or anything. It's no scarring or stenosis or anything like that. But they did say like, hey, you have this. And so for me, obviously, I'm like on the cusp of this vacation. I'm like all inclusive. What does that equal, right? You're going to have a plethora of drinks at your fingertips. And I'm like, wow, I have to really decide. I have to pre-decide what I'm going to do, how I'm going to approach this time. Either I disregard that advice and I continue to damage my liver potentially, right? Because I need to do some follow-up things or whatever to really see what's going on, right? It might be not as bad as I think or whatever. But I'm like, I have to take this seriously, right? This is a big warning sign for me. So I had to pre-decide before I went out there. I'm like, okay, how am I going to address this ongoing temptation of
how many days?
Have this drink. This was like a whole week of stuff.
That's nuts.
Yeah. And I have to say, because I understood this about my brain and I really anticipated like the challenges and opportunities, and I really looked at like what's the consequences. I ran through all of that stuff in my mind. It helped me to stay on track. And I will say, I'm proud of myself because it wasn't that I didn't drink at all, but what I did was I really, really was conscious and mindful and modulated everything, where I probably had, let's say, 3 or 4 drinks throughout the entire vacation. What I didn't do is like kind of engage in any kind of, binge drinking or getting, drunk.
Shots.
Right. Any of that stuff. And a lot of times I wouldn't even like finish one, right? I would just kind of like have a couple sips to be part of the thing, but then I would like put it aside. And I made the very conscious effort to be like, I'm just going to order a lot of things like soda water with lime or that type of stuff. So I have something I'm sipping, and I'm not feeling left out. The reason I bring this story up is because I think we are faced with situational things like this in our daily lives where the temptations are there. And they're very present. And, in your book, you talk about kind of like pre-deciding and as a really important tool.
Love this term.
I don't know if you framed it in that exact those exact words, but you do say about how to like decide earlier what you're wanting to do and how it's going to go. Can you like tell us a little bit more about that concept and how that applies?
Yeah, I think your example is a really good one because, I mean, obviously that's some really big news and you totally want to take it seriously. My first clinical rotation in grad school was outpatient substance abuse. So, there's this just basic idea. If you don't want to drink, don't go to the bar, right? It's super easy to say. I mean, it's harder to do it. But, like the issue is if you're in the bar, you're 12 seconds away from a drink. If you're in a restaurant that doesn't really serve alcohol, or at least is not a big drinking scene, you have more time to change your mind. It's the temptation is less in your face, right? So that's just like a basic concept of sort of behavior change and choice, So
make it harder to engage in that
exactly.
That behavior.
Yeah. Like the farther away a temptation is, the less willpower it takes to resist it. So that is beneficial for every single person on the planet. It takes less willpower to resist when it's not, you're not looking at it in the freezer. So, but we can take this and apply it to lots of just, non-substance related ADHD or just temptations for all people, right? That like, if you don't have, I don't know, Instagram notification. I don't know why I'm picking on Instagram, but if you don't have like TikTok notifications on your home screen,
he'll be okay. They'll be okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think they'll survive. So like, if you don't have the notification pop up, it doesn't take as much willpower to, not go there. Right. Like, or if you don't have distracting stuff sitting out, you're less likely to get pulled off because like you really want to deep dive on a work project. So you clear the other crap off your desk, or go to a quiet room to work, or go to a loud room to work because that's actually better for you. Right. So like, but it's kind of managing the environment more so than hoping for willpower.
Right. Yes.
And I just got to thank Aaron for you that, right? That like, even if we take this week, right? I mean, there were some situations where you had to be there. Like imagine there was a thing where everyone was going to like toast with champagne or something, right? But I also have to assume that there were certain situations that would be very easy to drink a lot in. And you're just like, yeah, dude, I'm not going in. I'll be out here. Right? Like, that makes it much easier. So it's the same idea that we can apply to lots of other things as well.
And I don't know if this is like the Buddhist side of me or something, but it's like, I was like, I'm going to intentionally kind of put myself into the lion's den and like test myself here and confront that discomfort. So I was actively even, I'm in a bar with these people all having drinks or whatever. And I'm sitting there with my soda with lime, and I'm feeling the discomfort, right?
I was not at all bitter.
No, I'm feeling this. I'm not part of this. I'm not participating in this activity, but I'm here. And actually, there was something really important and like uplifting about doing that. Like it's reaffirming, I guess, is the right word for me of being there, because I'm facing the hard reality, and I'm allowing myself to move through those emotions. Because of course, like what you're saying is, I think, the most practical solution for most people. Like, don't put yourself in the position, and also remove the temptations, make them harder to engage in. But sometimes we can't. Sometimes it's inevitable that we're in it. And also, how do we train ourselves to be able to be more comfortable with the discomfort and those feelings? Because when we self-soothe and get that hit of dopamine, or take that drink, or smoke that joint, or do the whatever that's soothing our emotions in that moment, that's instant gratification too. And we get to the core of the real thing, which is like, how do I tolerate my uncomfortable emotions?
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. As much 100%. As I talk a lot about how do you make this easier for yourself to kind of do that right thing, or not the right, to do the better thing, the thing that you yourself will be happier for later. Also, this idea of tolerating the discomfort is also really important, right? Because sometimes that's the deal, right? You just got to tolerate it. And that being in that situation did have a certain amount of discomfort. But also to have missed it wouldn't feel good, right? That would feel, that's too big a loss, right? So, you realize I need to tolerate the discomfort of being here and being tempted to drink when I shouldn't and feeling like I'm not here in the same way as some other people are. But this is important to me. This is important in these relationships or whatever it is. That's why you made the decision to do it. Now, I might also say, when you say I'm not a part of the experience, I might say, well, I don't know, you're here with these other people. Isn't that also an experience, right? It's not one experience of I'm here in a drunk kind of a way with the other drunk people. There are other experiences to be had, and there perhaps is a value there. I think also if you're kind of ruminating on the part that sucks, right? This is unfair. They're all drinking. Why can't I drink? I would be having more fun if I was, blah, 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 right? If you're chewing on that, you're not enjoying the moment, so which would be the same thing. I would have to fill out this annoying paperwork for the DMV to renew my license, right? And you could do all this stuff of this is stupid. They have the information. Why do I have to do it? Who needs a real ID anyway? This ID feels pretty real to me, right? Like all of that might be true. And also it just makes you feel more pissed about it, as opposed to I'm going to do this, I'm getting it done, and I'm moving on with my life.
Accepting it, deciding, all right, this is going to suck. I'm not going to convince myself this isn't going to suck. Like this is part of what I'm signing up for right here. It's going to suck. And biting the bullet, you do have, a chapter on that too, where it's just like, how do you bite the bullet? How do you kind of just accept and say, how do I just do the thing that's the hard thing in the moment?
Yeah.
You have a quote here, and I'm gonna read
wrap with this quote. Take us out with this quote. And also, I just want to let everybody know that "Bite the Bullet" is going to be the title of this episode because it's hardcore.
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
By focusing on what you're unhappy about, you just feel more unhappy. The task may be mandatory, but the suffering isn't.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we're talking about. Less suffering.
Less suffering. Yeah. Say it one more time.
This task may be mandatory, but the suffering isn't.
It's very meditative as a mantra.
And you also say one of the other banger quotes here, the goal is to hate it less.
Yeah.
I love that. It's like the goal isn't to love the task, to convince ourselves that we're okay with this thing that is unpleasurable. No, but the actual goal is to just hate it less, which makes it more manageable.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to love it, but if I can not focus on how displeasurable this thing is, and I can just radically accept that I'm doing the thing and it's going to suck, then I can reorient my goal to make it be, well, can I just hate this a little less?
Yeah. But that's also achievable, right? This thing of I'm not going to hate it. Like, no, you will. Like you're supposed to, not if you're supposed to, but you will. Like it is that part you can't change. And like the problem is unachievable goals are demotivating, right? It's hopeless, so why bother? Versus like having a realistic goal, like, okay, that I can do something with.
Well, Ari, I want you to end with telling us the top 5. No, I'm kidding.
Yes, at the end of every show, we do a top 5 productivity hacks for the ADHDer.
The number one productivity hack that everyone can do right now in 5 minutes.
No. By hacks, you do not get to profound wisdom and banger one-liners like we just shared at the end. Those come from a meditative sort of loop place and like really chewing on those thoughts. We are profoundly blessed to have had you here today, and I'm saying it because Aaron called it out. Now I get to. We are demanding your return because there is a text between Aaron and I sitting open on my screen with another half of questions that we would like to ask. So we
have a lot more to ask.
Yeah, there is a lot more material to cover. But before we chit-chat away the precious minutes we have, this is your pluggable section. Please tell us where we can find you, the titles of those books, where we can purchase those books. Do you have a podcast, a vodcast, the whole thing?
And before you do that, I'll plug your book here. Go out. I implore all of you ADHD listeners out there, go pick up Ari Tuckman's new book, ADHD Productivity Manual. You won't regret it. It's chock full of years and years and years of wisdom, hard-earned tactics and strategies, and it's very digestible. You won't regret it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so all right,
Yeah.
give us your pluggables, and I believe Aaron when he says it, but it doesn't take a lot of heavy lifting to convince me because I know your brain. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, best place is adultadhdbook.com. I've got like samples from my books and upcoming presentations and recordings of old stuff, and like that's the best place. And if you want to hang out with all of us in person, I'm going to put a plug in for the big Chad ADA ACO conference. So if you go to theadhdconference.org, we're going to be in Kansas City this year, November 15th to the 17th. Just this awesome gathering of anybody who has anything to do with ADHD. I mean, this is where we met, 10 years ago or something. Mm-hmm. And it's just a phenomenal place. So definitely check that out.
We're all going to be there.
Oh, cool. That was awesome. I'm not kidding. We have so many more questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you for making the time today.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk soon.
Good deal. I'll see you guys.